a mag, something like a Legion with like an early game ult that is guaranteed to lock him down for that Sunstrike damage. So there's multiple ways to play the hero. Gives him some flexibility, versatility with what he goes with, like the pace of the game wise. If you have a more mid-game-esque carry, then you pick Exort Invoker. Boom, you got a carry. If not, you go for the Quas Wex. And another hero we see a lot of is the Spectre. That is in every region, every pub. Very scary carry in all of it, in all rights. It's very hard to commit onto any of her teammates.
Easiest carry in the game.
If you are stuck playing carry in a pub and you have no idea what to pick, just pick Spectre.
Pick Spectre.
Yeah. At very least, you'll do 22% of your health and damage to all those around you.
The only carry that you want to get beaten to death with, right?
Yes.
One of the only ones. Speaking of heroes that love it when people get beat to death, I would say in this series, keep your eye out for Oracle. NaVi running Oracle in almost every single game. And then in the inverse of that, 5 men run a lot of Troll Warlord. Almost every game they've had a Troll Warlord.
Interesting.
Is that hero any good, guys?
I don't think so.
I don't feel like it's good either. I can't see a Troll Warlord out carrying any of like the top carries right now. I feel like a Slark will munch on him. I feel like a Spectre will destroy a Troll in the late game. Terrorblade.
Troll does put you in the we're going to win our lanes and snowball in like the first 15 minutes game plan, and I think that was more viable for 5 men in the previous, like in the close qualifier against most Divine bracket level teams.
Against noobs, basically.
Yeah, basically noobs.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't think that's as viable. Like if a team of like tier 1, tier 2 caliber sees that fruition coming, they're like, okay, all we got to do is like be in a playable game state at 15 minutes. Whether we're down 1 to 2K, whatever. As long as the game was within our reach, we win one team fight. Suddenly, like this Troll Warlord-esque hero doesn't scale nearly as well as the Spectres and Terrorblades.
Right, exactly.
But that point requires a lot of skill to get to. So it's like much more punishing to the newer teams if you go for that like all-in early game route. And Clockwork, another one of my favorite heroes this patch. I love any disruption hero against mag. Like any hero that says, okay, you went on my teammate, throw myself in there. It can be Axe, it can be Clockwork, and Clockwork is the perfect take my body kind of hero, like take me as you will, take me away. Like as long as the rest of my team lives and kills you, that's my job.
And when you have a Spectre and Phoenix on your team too, you just kind of want to fight to start. You don't really care how it starts. You're just like, let's just engage in combat and we'll probably win the fight. Yeah. So Clockwork obviously very good at doing that, and he does not care if he dies.
Yep. Big hero that we see, of course, first banned out is Doom and Venom. This is something you're going to see a lot, guys. If you have any bets with your friends, say that you can predict who's going to get banned every series, and it's Doom and Venom.
I don't know what Undying's final win rate was, but in the Divine League, he got his first win, I think, on his 11th game. So not so hot.
Wow.
Yeah.
In regards to his actual record. I'm a bit nervous about this Undying pick because they haven't picked an offlaner yet on 5 men. Like Clockwork could be offlane technically, but they haven't picked that strength offlaner that Undying is supposed to destroy in the lane. So they could go some like ranged like Necrophos or that's really the one that comes to mind. True, but Venom's all banned out.
But NaVi also hasn't picked their carry, so if they do pick like some offlaner that does fine against Undying, you could have like the carry to counter pick. So I suppose they're
like setting themselves up for an advantage because of the 1-to-1 support duo.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But I mean, I just feel like Undying's not a good hero. I definitely personally overrated it when I saw the change where his ultimate does just raw extra damage.
Yeah.
Just get damage amplification, which is always insane in Dota.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah, which I think that was underrated back then too. And I think Undying was still a good hero back then. But the problem with Undying is like, let's say you're Undying, you're bored in a game, you're sitting in trees, you're like, I want to go do something. What are you going to go smoke and do? Like, oh, my tombstone cooldown, guys, let's go. Like nobody said that ever. You do nothing after the laning phase other than just wait for fights to start and put a tombstone down. And in the laning stage, like, what if you just don't do well? What if you just get countered?
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't really have a backup plan if the laning stage goes to shit.
Can't farm.
There's no way to come back. Farming, tower taking, like, none of it sounds good. You're pretty much sitting behind people at that point and pushing, like, W and maybe summoning a tombstone.
It's so boring.
Yeah, I like Guap. I think it's, like, it's a potential offlaner. You're not, by no means am I saying it is offlane, but it could go offlane if they pick some carry that's really bad against it.
Yeah.
And it goes naturally in lane decently against Invoker. It pretty much dissuades the Exort Invoker. Usually you go for the Quas Wex just because you have like the whole sustain plan in lane rather than the damage plan.
What?
They go for the Slark.
That definitely means it's not a Quap off lane.
They'll probably put the Quap mid now.
Well, you know what, actually, if it wasn't on an Undying, Quap offlane against Slark's not that bad if you go for the max Scream. It's not the worst. You're still a ranged hero who can poke him. But when you're going to be sitting on like 200 HP because Undying, I don't think that sounds
In my
good
experience,
at all.
I've lanes Slark against Quap like actually 3 or 4 times already. It's only hard when the support is ranged. Because
They can just
as
both hit you.
Slark, you're just getting hit by 2 heroes, and you can't actually ever go on them because you're always at half health. So I don't think a hero like Clock.
That's literally nothing.
Yeah,
Literally nothing against the Slark.
I will say in game, I don't love playing Slark against Clock. It's super obnoxious.
Oh yeah, it's
You disrupt him going on anybody. It's like really hard to go on the Clockwork himself, and
it's a double-edged sword though, because at least it's a hero that can jump out of cogs. You know,
yeah,
it's
not reliably though. If the Clock's really good, he'll get in your way. Just saying.
Little guy. Hey. Sorry.
What is that?
I just gave him a little kiss, and he got really excited. He
what
got
was
very
he?
happy. A little smooch for a little Slarky Malarkey. He likes
Oh.
it. That's a good boy. Stay there, little guy.
There he
You're
is.
gonna die today.
Who's a
Yeah,
good
see, he
little-
likes it. See?
He likes it. He wants it.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, relax.
He almost hit him with that
Calm
knife,
down,
man.
all
He almost shanked him.
You give a little bit of love to something, it freaks out. You're like my ex, okay? I'm
fish-
not that interested.
Fish
Get
get
out of
very
here.
attached.
Jesus.
What I've heard.
Anyway, so last picks coming up here. I gotta say, a unique draft. I haven't seen a lot of these heroes in a bit. Of course, we, have metas constantly changing here, but I mean, Slark's kind of weird.
To be honest with you, the one thing I noticed about competitive as opposed to pubs is that it happens a lot of patches, at least in the last year or so. It seems like there's 4 or 5 carries that are just way better than all the other ones. So in this patch, I'd say it's like Faceless Void, Spectre, Terrorblade, Anti-Mage. And you actually get to see heroes that aren't those, because heroes like Slark, I think, are pretty good. They just match up poorly against Void and Anti-Mage. So
Sure.
in a pub, you'll just never see this hero, because if you pick Slark and the enemy team picks Void, you're like,
Well, bye.
a lot.
Right.
But since there's bans in competitive, you actually get to see the less picked carries, simply because a lot of them are only not picked because they suck against the meta carries.
Yeah.
So it makes sense they want to ban out like 2 ranged offlaners that are super annoying for Slark in lane. They go for the Enigma and Nature's Prophet. I'd
Yep.
say Necro's my prime pick. It's not the best against Invoker, but it's nice against all the other heroes as a 5-man last pick. It leaves them a bit initiation-less, though. Like, they do lack... Other than Clock, you don't want Clock to feel like he has to start the fight.
Oh, that's his job, though, you know?
Well, he also wants the option to be like a follow-up or like a counter initiation.
Right, the counter initiation.
Yeah,
Well,
you want
against the
one.
mech.
You want him to have like a couple options, so based on the situation in the game, he can look to play one or the other. But like now, if he's your only initiation, it's hard for him to ever look to counter initiate. He always has to worry about initiating.
Yeah, it's also like he doesn't really offer any like, guaranteed disable. It's a whole bunch of like wacky kind of clunky disable.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
So having some other hero that can kind of do it as well is pretty nice.
And I think that's why the Enigma was their first ban. It's like a ranged offlaner that's annoying, but also represents a guaranteed initiation.
And they don't have much to deal with an Enigma either.
With Spectre, you always want something. I even think since they're against Bad, it may not be, or they're against Slark, it may not be ideal. I think Bad is super good with 5-men's lineup right now. Like it's good for their lineup, even though it's not great against Slark, and it's also good against all the other heroes on Navi that are not Slark. So they may even like kind of sack this quad pick to get a better initiator in the mid lane. Like
I mean,
Bad.
they do have the last pick, so if you see, like, if we see something, okay,
Like I
like
still like Bad a lot here.
bat mid or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is where you give Quap a not perfect game, but she'll do fine.
Yeah, she'll be fine, yeah.
I just think they're either going to go the lane domination Necro route, or they're going to go, like, we need to give a hard initiation Bat Rider route.
Yeah, Necro would absolutely destroy damage-wise. There he is.
Jesus. Anyway,
Yeah.
last pick here. I agree with the gentleman. I feel like we need some lockdown here. Not too much, but we got clockwork and a lot of damage. Very scary damage, but too many people start hitting that egg, we're going to have some issues.
Yeah, you could do something like Axe as, like, a game plan thing, but then you have
Oh.
Axe Clock against Undying,
that's
right?
not
Like,
a
that's
good
what I'm
lane.
saying, is this
Yeah.
Undying kind of shuts down all these initiators.
Oh.
They do go the initiation mobility route, not a strength hero. Which one do you think's which, Jenkins, in terms of off lane to mid here?
I feel like the Quap is not that bad against Invoker. Like I know people say that's like a counter matchup for the, Invoker just gets like Quas and you deal with the dagger. But if you have 3 points in dagger, there's like no levels in Quas that you can get to actually deal with it. Or you can just go the route of going Scream and ganking and be totally fine in the mid lane.
Well, our odds from EG Bet, of course, it's pretty close, I gotta say, but it looks like it is in 5 men's favor. Assuming you guys agree with that?
I don't think you understand odds.
How do odds work?
Well, the higher the odds, the less favored the team is. So I would say
higher number, more money back.
Yes, so that means it's in favor of the other team.
Huh. That makes sense. Okay.
I think those odds were still a little too close.
Really?
I feel like NaVi should win this. I mean, we haven't seen 5 men play against these like tier 1 teams, but just the fact that they beat Team Liquid, that NaVi beat Team Liquid, like says to me that they should be able to stomp out like a tier 2 stack, and it was fairly recent too. Even though they lost the series, like they won a game, that still means like they're relatively even if they're going to win a game against Liquid.
I think it's a hard game for Slark to get off the ground, but if he does, it's an easy game for Slark. So I'll go for NaVi here.
NaVi, okay.
I'm going with NaVi as well.
NaVi as well. Well, very interesting, almost as interesting as mathematics, which we will get to during this break. But until then, while I'm trying to learn basic math, why don't you guys get introduced to our 2 casters? Who could it be? Well, the only person that looks like he would actually be in the movie 300, and then also Fogged. It's Capitalist and Fogged.
Thank you, Slacks. Something about the insanity of Slacks. You know, part of it is an act and part of it's real, but that last part was definitely real.
That was real. He had no idea about the odds. He's like, oh, well.
The higher number equal more money.
No wonder I've lost a lot of money. Oh, God.
What do you think, Fogged? Are you also back in NaVi like the rest of the analysts?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Brian was saying. There's like no lockdown really for this Slark, so I feel like if he does start to get a good game because he has the Magnus also backing him up to get that like increased farm, I think he could definitely run away with this one. This looks like a pretty good Slark game because of that lack of disable. He's just going to run rampant.
So what is it that Jenkins said that was wrong? Because you said specifically that you were agreeing with BSJ, so I assume that means that Jenkins said something.
I was just giving credit to Brian, you know. I like making my panelists look better, and they also make me look better as well. You know, it's give and take. It's
give and take.
Good love.
All right, well, it's going to be an interesting opening match here for this Omega League for us anyway.
Yeah, I have not gotten to watch a lot of these teams really lately. I have not been playing or watching too much Dota, if I'm totally honest with you, but
30 seconds.
I have gotten to do a lot of the SEA games, especially with Owen, like a month back or so. I have not gotten to see too much of these games, though, especially these teams. I know 5 men have been on a pretty decent streak. I think they're 8-1. NaVi, I think they were struggling a little more, but they did take that game from Liquid.
Yeah, I was going to say, you really only had 9 chances to be able to see 5 men in action, as their only matches have been through the Omega closed qualifiers. They only lost 1 match, as you mentioned, which was against Bait, surprisingly enough, because Bait has obviously been a suffering team for quite a long time.
Obviously.
Yeah, it's a rough story, but hopefully they will finally get the roster that they need to pull in some Ws. They are going to be running that offlane Quap and mid for Chessie. So what do you think about this this situation? This matchup, I'm presuming like Quap is actually going to be, even though, yeah, sure, you can get rid of Shadow Strike, it's still a ranged core against the Slark.
I think that's exactly that. I think that Brian was saying that, right? It's like they were trying to ban out the 2 annoying ranged heroes that just always put pressure onto those melee carries. Slark, he definitely can get annoyed by that, even though if he can't, he can remove actually both of the abilities, right? Both the Shadow Strike as well as the Fire Spirits up in that top lane, but just constant harassment will definitely add up. And then they don't have to worry about the decay, right?
Yeah.
These 2 heroes can spread out pretty nicely to actually play around LES, although they did just get double decayed right there.
Got to be a little bit more careful. Good to see Misery back in action, though.
Yeah.
It's nice seeing him again.
For sure. I actually was talking to him a bit because I'm pretty sure a lot of people know I've been playing a decent amount of WoW and stuff like that. And he actually was for a good time in the beginning, and he quickly fell away. And I always was just asking him, I was like, what do you plan on doing? He really wanted to get back into Dota. Young G, Chessie actually getting good aggressive plays there on him.
Certainly a moment for Young G to show up on the big stage here, because he is not a player that has a wealth of experience. He's played about 6 months on each of the teams that he's been on. I believe he's been on Windstrike. I think his very first team was Namiga, and that was about 2 years ago. But he started off there, and every 6 months he pretty much changes the team and is working his way up as, going from Windstrike, which is a pretty notable team in CIS, to now going on to the big boys of NaVi. Is certainly a growing accomplishment for a player like that. And this is certainly one of the heroes that is most in his wheelhouse, an SF and Invoker specialist.
Yeah, I'm always excited to see Invoker. Favorite hero, definitely by far. Not the easiest matchup, though. I think it'll start to get better, of course, for the Invoker, but Void Spirit's just, his animation is just so damn good. And this looks
nice
like it
pounce.
could be potential.
A lot of stick charges, though, as well as the Fairy Fire. Zibe's actually got to be a little bit careful there, as he almost gets popped by that Soul Rip. Always dangerous. The Undying Soul Rip. It can surprise you, catch you off guard.
It's one of my favorite lanes. This is, like, when you're playing versus melee heroes, this is the worst lane to play versus. The double stat steal, right? They're just like, the Slark's hitting you, stealing you, the Undying's decaying you, and you're like, oh my god, I have no armor, I have no health. Yeah, it's a tough one, but they are the double ranged. They're not actually doing that well up top, though. Only 7 on the Queen of Pain, and Slark is starting to be able to get that farm built up because he has that sustain, and, you know, Undying usually eats the pressure. But they're getting their levels, and I think they more so prefer just having Chessie be the snowballing, right?
Yeah.
Get those early levels online. He can make rotations, and he can pressure those side lanes. And he's also very mobility-based, and I think the key thing that we're going to be looking at in this game is lack of lockdown from both sides.
Yeah. That was something that we were kind of talking about early on in the draft. Is it was like, okay, this is kind of a weird setup they've got. They've got a Phoenix and a Spectre, no protection for this egg, and not the best sources of initiation. What do you think about the Clockwork 5, by the way? This has been one of the most popular heroes of the current meta. Very strong. But I've seen it as it's been on for the last month. I feel like it's gone from, okay, it's definitely a 3, and then I saw it kind of moving into a 4 position again. It's like people are getting greedy again with their supports.
Yeah, I mean, he does the job. He does exactly what he's supposed to do. He's very tanky. He's just obnoxious, and he has such good matchups versus so many heroes, right? Like, I think for the majority of always Dota, it's like your Ogre, your Undying, and then Clockwork just breaks the 4/5 positions because you can't actually trade with him. Rubik is actually one of those heroes that does well because, you know, you can just throw him away if he does get on top of somebody. But yeah, that hero is always going to be pretty annoying, especially when he gets buffed a ton because he just doesn't get played for so long.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I feel like for the mid lane matchup, these power runes are so important now. I'm not sure if it's like they're more emphasized because there isn't a 2-minute rune now. But like it feels like 4 and 6 minutes, like mids are just saying to their supports, you have to babysit the power runes. Otherwise, my lane is done.
Yeah, I think it's like for Invoker, for this one, I feel like he doesn't go bottle, right? So they maybe want somebody to go check it, but it's not that imperative that he actually gets it. But yeah, for like majority of other heroes, I feel like everybody's just, it's bottle, bottle, bottle every single time now again. And he's actually gets to play aggressive now too because of it. You see Chessie, he's going actually aggressively into the Dire side to get their bounty rune.
Yeah, this is kind of a classic move. Both mids try and spam out their wave. You can hit Ilias one more time if the Soul Rip comes out to protect himself. He will be fine. And yeah, Chessie and Young G will take each other's bounty runes. And Chessie actually TP back to the mid lane immediately, while Young G will actually take the opportunity to grab the other bounty rune as well, and may still try and sneak in a gank here.
Should probably just go back to his lane. Invoker doesn't want to waste time going for those, especially if, I believe we saw he was what? He's Quas Exort, right? If you're Quas Wex, you can make those type of moves, but...
Yeah, I feel like just the very setup of that is just a bit questionable for an Invoker. Quap off lane is not going to be the easiest hero for you to gank.
No, definitely not. Sara carries farming. Spectre 30, excellent. I feel like I never see Spectre that can't get pressured anymore. It feels like it's always he's always getting free farm because he's got such great. I think it's like what 5 HP per second or something crazy early on, and he always has some type of like Clockwork, Undying, Ogre, someone securing the lane.
Nice catch here from Chessie. Might be able to get the kill on a Young G, but he does manage to get off the Ghost Walk. Still costly, though, as he's going to be missing most of this CS underneath the tower.
Oh, and he did go. He is full Quas Wex, actually. Okay, so he's going to have to be pretty active to be sure that he can actually utilize that.
Surprise kill. Turnaround as Ilias comes in from behind as they tried to go for a bit of a dive here and actually catches Misery in the act. Looks like they really wanted to make a big play around this mid lane with this first push coming in from the Siege Wagon.
Yeah, definitely a good opportunity versus a hero like Invoker. Invoker can't wave clear this early on very well. Sure, you have Tornado, but that's your aggressive tool. So, yeah, nice aggressive move. I think they got that tower down to almost, what, a quarter HP or something like that.
Yeah, it's real low.
Gotta refill the bottle as well.
And that's something I always like that because it's something that NaVi now have to keep in mind the next time, right? The 10-minute lane spawn, they're going to have a plan already in motion to be able to defend that mid tower if they want to keep it alive, because everyone still wants to keep their mid tower up.
Yeah, now it's like Invoker, when you are Quaswex, now this is where you do want to start looking to make moves around, but now you can't actually leave the mid lane as easily because of that.
Yeah.
So his game is it's gonna be a little bit awkward for the moment as top Pounce actually does not connect.
So close. The Queen of Pain does manage to get away for now. Ilya's still on the chase, but I don't think he's going to be able to get her. I don't think Decay is enough to get that one.
Oh, but he
Will
gets the salve.
Get the salve, though. Nice catch on a Young G, but a tornado onto 3. Is that enough to get him away? No, he had a dust on him anyway, so no opportunity for a Ghostwalker or anything like that. And that mid tower, it may not be falling to the 10-minute spawn of the Siege Wagon. It might just be dying to a couple ganks. Immersion's going to have to rotate over to try and protect it, but this 5-man team is not going to let up so easily.
I'm really liking these moves by 5 men. Their bottom secured. He's not getting pressured at all. Top, you may not be getting the best farm, and we may not be pressuring the Slark so much, but now mid lane is just dominating.
Yeah.
We're going to have this tower taken, and it's going to open up the game so much for Aces. Pi
pulls him back in, but Pi did have a healing salve. Pops it as soon as he got out of range of the Magnus. Bit of a pause here. Is 1-1 with just a slight lead for 5 men, but it's going to be a lot larger once that mid tower does go down.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I feel like anytime I see these type of games where it's like Spectre's already having this type of start, he's playing versus these 2 supports that are food for him in the mid game. It's looking really good for them here for these first 8 minutes. Already had Drum with the raindrops. He's looking great. Level 7 too, making sure they're giving him a lot of solo experience. Really good lane setups at the moment here by 5 men. I'm getting so confused trying to remember their name. I'm saying OGC, C9.
C9, yeah.
Everybody else has a different tag.
Pi, he heads on back, but it's not like Ace really needs him in lane right now besides Chessie. He's actually going to rotate down to bottom lane, see if he can catch Pasha. Pasha, one of his quintessential heroes here on the mag, is going to be able to hit the 2-man RP, but Misery was lying in wait and is able to catch him on the way out. It's not like Pasha would have survived anyway without mana for Skewer. Chessie would have caught him anyway, so that's an RP down and still managing to get the kill. Misery, he's pretty happy with that, and he'll tip Pasha, knowing that Pasha made a grave error.
Yeah, phenomenal right now. Phenomenal start for 5 men. And Navi, it's really difficult for them to really make moves since they lost this mid tower. I feel like it's really obvious when they do want to make a move, because either Rubik tries to make a gank happen, or the Invoker has to in this game, right?
Yeah.
And if Invoker leaves his lane, you know 100% because that mid tower is already gone.
They're going to try and catch Ilias here. Young G is there to be able to help out, but Chessie comes in with a swift amount of damage. Puts it out nice and easy, gets the kill, and they can set up now for the 10-minute bounties.
So much mobility, too. Like, Chessie just TP'd back to base, and bam, he's just back into the fight. They're able to make these moves and just match Navi if they try to make anything is... Yeah, it's really concerning right now for these next few moments.
I've been seeing a lot of Orchids lately. Seems like a really value item right now, and Chessie, he's going to try and make use of that. Crystallize going for the TP out, should be fine.
Yeah, Orchid's so cheap.
Yeah.
It feels so nice to play with it. Now, you get it such an early pace. I see most games, it's like, even these Invokers I've seen have been going for it sometimes, but yeah, Chessie getting this early on is really, really strong for the team versus a Slark and Invoker, even versus Magnus, just great item pickup.
Yeah, it's really notable when, like, non-intelligence heroes will go for an Orchid now, or, like, Void Spirit has his Aghanim Scepter, which is another form of silence, an AoE silence he could have, but instead he says, no, the Orchid's much better here.
Yeah, you get their mana regen, you get the straight damage, and that hero really does ramp up so much with your ultimate with that.
Okay.
Okay, Tombstone farm. They're trying to... That feels like it's like, you know, we're getting pressured quite a bit right now. We need to make sure our Slark has the best game possible. Yeah. They can't actually match right now what 5 men are doing around the map and pressuring towers. Just Phoenix is 6 now, Sonic Wave is up, Spectre's got Haunt, he's got a lot of farm too, and they know that the mid laner is having a phenomenal game. So I feel like their map is getting a little bit more difficult to make moves around on the side of Navi.
It feels like to me, Navi has to go and take that bottom safe lane tower at this point. If they lose their mid and safe lane tower, then they are left with just the triangle. That's all they can really farm confidently.
Yeah, I mean, they have to, like, Young G has to start to look to make some type of move here. He's staying in the mid lane for the time being, and they have just the Magnus and the Undying set up around bottom, but yeah, this tower doesn't look like it's going to get slowed down at all, brought down at all bottom, so.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a 5-man, like, if they start showing themselves, would you go for a team fight here?
I think they can. Let's see their mana levels. Chessie's a little bit low on the mana, but Phoenix is 6. They've got majority of what they want. Yeah, I think they might be able to just smoke down here. Tower is so healthy. That's the thing, too.
Yeah.
It's going to take them a long time. Na'Vi does not have great tower hitting because it's not an Exort Invoker. He can't, like, Alacrity his Slark. They have Empower at least, but let's see what the choice is.
They may end up feeling like it's an unnecessary risk. They don't necessarily have to defend this, because if they try and lose that team fight, it'd be really bad. But Na'Vi, they actually get a bit skittish and back away. I feel like they almost had to make a move here because they're left with so little map control if they leave that safe lane tower up.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they almost had to, but it's so risky. They saw the bottom rune. They see Chessie. He was relatively decent on mana. Picks up an Arcane rune or something. It's just like, oh god, now it's way too problematic. Arcane probably the best rune on a Void Spirit too. You just have this insane mobility and damage burst.
And I guess there are some upsides to the heroes that they drafted. Slark, for example, thanks to the Empower, is going to be speed farming through the neutrals, but also is a slippery enough hero that he can play in the enemy jungle, even with towers up, and not have to worry too much.
Yeah, like especially when it's like limited disable and stuff like that he's playing versus the Orchid is definitely going to change that though. When Chessie gets that, it's going to make this Slark's game way more difficult for him to really play inside the shadows and just farm up. There's a lot of pressure going to be coming out.
Drums complete for the Invoker. So he's got the attack speed to put out with that Cold Snap. You see the odds. Still favoring 5 men, as Slacks would say. Bigger number equal more money.
Poor Jake.
2,000 net worth lead for 5 men right now, and a 3-man smoke from Na'Vi.
Quiet game still. It's only 3-2.
Yeah.
2K lead. They've got some information on the map with these two wards. Not the greatest info, though. These are just like, okay, we're unsure about. We can't really get deep to get these wards because we lost the early game. We lost the laning phase. So I think they're trying to just get a little more information out of the map here with this smoke. But we see bottom, like, look at Ace. Yeah. Ace knows this is going on. He's like, all right, you guys got any smoke? I'm just hitting your tower as a Spectre, and you guys aren't doing anything about it. This is even more in favor of just 5 men over and over again.
Yeah, very obvious. He's hitting the bottom tower. Chessie pushes in the middle lane.
Yeah.
So it gets a bit of vision there, and nobody's really showing on the map. So as a result, Zibe quickly backs out of that top jungle area. Doesn't get caught by the smoke gank or anything. And looks like they're going to take this bottom tower for free. No defense, Ace. Look at that last hit. And well on his way to a Manta.
Oh, man. And this is a Quaswex Invoker, 14 minutes in, has no involvement so far. This is pretty brutal already. It's only the 2K lead, but you're starting to really feel that he could just fall off insanely hard, and he's already starting to. This Queen of Pain has now surpassed him. The off-lane Quap has now passed that mid-Invoker.
It's at this point in time, you'd much rather have an Exort Invoker where you have later game options. Cold Snap does manage to get the blink away. Cold Snap, unfortunately, doesn't keep him in place long enough. The hook shot comes in from Pylai Dive, blocked by the Spectre Illusions. Ace will jump forward, and they have a dust on the MG. Crystallize going to turn back, and Pylai Dive actually gets popped there by the Soul Rip, but in the back lines, there is still Chessie going at it. Crystallize gets a little bit low, managed to pop his ultimate. They're playing nicely around the Tombstone, and 5 men will respect that buyback as well as the Tombstone. They'll back away equally.
Chessie got a pretty decent wraparound there, and yep, they only lost the Clockwork, and they're walking into high ground aggressively versus Na'Vi. I think you're pretty happy with that as 5 men. You didn't expend a crazy amount of stuff either. You used Haunt, but you still have got Egg. You've still got your Quap Sonic Wave. Yeah. Still got a decent amount to do. But Na'Vi also does. They still do have their RP at least too.
Yeah, I would say if anything, Na'Vi, maybe as soon as Tombstone's up, I think you kind of maybe have to smoke and look for a fight somewhere. Maybe, what does Pasha have anyway?
He just had the mech that I saw before. I don't think he had the full Greaves just yet. I think he had like 1,000 toward the Greaves. He had Arcane Boot and mech. Chessie's stalking. He's gotten every rune, I think, right? Is that every single power rune?
He's gotten like almost every single one. It's going to pop out quickly, try and take down the Rubik, who did buy back. There goes the mech coming out from Pasha. That'll keep Immersion alive. He would have otherwise certainly died to that... oh, what is the active of Orchid called? It's like
Soul Burn or something?
Soul Burn, yeah, that's probably right.
I think the crazy thing right there is Chessie just jumped into 5 heroes and they couldn't actually like, bring him down and chase him out. That just shows the extensiveness, how the catch in this game is pretty lackluster. Up to 4K lead. Misery just takes that whole space top. Spectre Ace is farming the jungle during it, and now finally, Navi's going to get to take out this tower, but it feels very late for them, as a tier 2 is going to go down. So now we're going to have opportunity for 5 men to take outposts.
So there's no question that Young G's game kind of got ruined as those heavy mid rotations were nicely designed to shut him down. But
top tower has fallen.
After that, like, how much of this game is his responsibility? Like, he just hasn't really had a whole lot of impact. Should his team be helping him a little bit more in that situation? Should he have never been put in that situation where he got ganked mid so heavily without any kind of support? I mean, what went wrong that we are now looking at 5 men just kind of running all over Navi?
I think the lane's a little bit tough too, but that movement where he walked top 2, he lost a lot of time walking back to the mid lane. I think Chessie had hit 6 already, so I think it was level 5 Invoker walking back to the mid lane, and I mean, he hasn't been able to make any aggressive moves or anything on the map because it's just, I mean, 5 men are just beating them to it every single time. They just outnumber them, and the lanes are just so advantageous. And yeah, those early rotations. I think runes are just, you said it, right? Those power runes, how important they are. Look again, Chessie is, I'm pretty sure he's gotten every single one this game.
It feels like a snowballing effect where it's like, okay, this power rune, it represents a certain amount of strength, but if I can utilize that strength to either gank the side lane or maybe kill the mid laner, then that just kind of snowballs from there, where once I take that mid tower, then I'm going to get even more power runes, and I'm going to keep on making these rotations. In certain plays like where you pointed out, oh, because he got the arcane rune at bottom lane, they couldn't push that bottom tower, right? Like that, there's so many of those things that can happen.
Yeah, this was a bit of a bold move here by 5 men. I like it though. They get Manta on Spectre, and that's when their lineup is actually able to do Roche, right? Because the Desolate damage. They try to actually go for it, but Navi does move quickly. Magnus, we see Pasha. He has like no mana right now if this fight does commence. Does get himself some Arcane Boot usage, but still very limited on mana on this mag.
Still trying to get their neutral items too. 5 men, kind of looking for that opening, not quite finding it.
Yeah, not quite trying to force it super hard. They have a lot of vision tools as well. I've just been noticing. They have like the dagger and then the rocket always to scout out on top of those high grounds too. So they can play a lot easier into those high grounds with this lineup.
Nice big stack, which, while Navi did have the tombstone to help a carry that isn't the best at usually clearing Ancients, was able to do a little bit better because of the tombstone. We got similar situation here thanks to the fire from the Phoenix. They are going to catch Pylai Die here. That's a 5-position clockwork, so not the biggest kill in the world.
Finally, though, we get Young G. He gets kill involvement. I think it's super important that he has to be able to do that, and they get it before the 20-minute mark, reclaim their outpost.
You know, one of the reasons that I've heard that Quas Invoker really fell by the wayside is that Urn just kind of sucks now.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that. Oh, Chessie.
Yeah, he's going to pop the illusion. Rudy gets skewered, RP'd, and that is a killing spree for Young G. 400 gold in the pocket, and they can push forward. No bounty rune to be found there, though, so it's still 3 bounty runes picked up for 5 men. But a good pick-off when you're behind like this.
Huge one. Now they should be able to probably get this top tower, too. And yeah, Chessie was pretty damn large. And when you're a team, when you have Magnus, too, those type of kills mean a lot more, because then Slark backs up, farms at that increased rate.
I think he felt like he was in really good place because of the dispel offered by the illusion rune. Now he was like, what are the things that can touch me? You know, like almost nothing. Well, there's still Pounce.
Yep. Okay,
Hook
they're
shot
actually looking
in.
to fight.
They're actually going to go for this one. They do throw out the ultimate, but Crystallize hops away just in time. Ace is going to come through. Dagger going out, landing on a number of heroes there. The Tombstone, though, is going to allow them to retreat. Na'Vi actually going back in here underneath his Tombstone with a deafening blast. The Tombstone's not dead yet. One more hit. Pylai Die finally gets it. But they've already done so much damage, they've had to retreat. Pi in some trouble. A beautiful telekinesis drop on a Chessie and Ace. They're going to be able to jump forward, though, and grab Young G. Can Chessie finish him off? It looks like the Orchid should be enough. He jumps forward even farther now to be able to get a few heroes. That healing from the Phoenix is actually just barely keeping both Zibe and Chessie alive, enough to be able to turn around and get the kill onto Ilias before they go down. Immersion with a successful TP out, but Pasha, he won't be as lucky. He's got to skewer up in a second here, but he is just surrounded by heroes. Ace gets in front of him, and Chessie will claim the triple kill.
Whew. They had all their ults up. They decided Chessie was not gone from this world long enough. He's going to be able to come back in time and actually clean up that fight. And look at that damage from both of those cores. Insane.
Yeah.
Just really cleaning up. And the Sunray, like you said, healing them up. Now they're all back up to full. They can easily get this Roche too. And yeah, going for that top tower, maybe not the best idea. They did a decent job of like kind of resetting the fight too, but yeah, 5 men just pushed through it. Chessie leading that charge.
I can't decide if like the bad decision from NaVi was going back in general or not going back in fast enough. Yeah. You know, because it was a really successful tombstone that they had out.
Yeah, especially with like, I mean, it was the clockwork that was hitting the tomb though, but they have the deafening blast disarm, so there was a chance where he could maybe get, you know, a more of those zombies built up, but yeah, too many ults from 5 men, and they're just with that little bit of a lead. And Chessie also having this, like, I think Imp Claw in particular, like one of my favorite items on Voice Bear too. You do so much damage to the back lines. Right when he gets on top of like the Rubik and the Undying, it's total chaos in the fight.
Well, Silver Edge complete for the Slark. One of the few heroes that I'm pretty sure is actually happy with the Silver Edge change.
Mm-hmm.
Not many of those heroes are happy with that, but Slark has got to be one of them.
They've got a lot of items to deal with him now, though. I actually love this item build by the Queen of Pain. We didn't get the point down and out, though, but the Force Staff and then the mech.
Yeah.
The Force just breaks everything when you're playing versus Little Catch Pi. Doing what Pi does. Space.
Space created. Does signal the ward that they had on the high ground, so that's actually worth almost more than Pi's life.
Yeah. There's a Slark in the game anyway. It's going to get dewarded anyway, whatever.
All right, Spectre. Another huge power spike after the Manta. You get the Fusa Blade. You still have a Drums charge in there as well. Pounce up. Is it going to be lasting long enough? It looks like it. Misery. He gets picked off. Crystallized, showing off that Silver Edge to great effect. Can they take that one little pick off? They turned into another pick off into some actual objectives. Doesn't look like it. I thought maybe they would poke at the mid tower, but no.
Just too scary. You don't know if the Phoenix has buyback, right? And then they still have all their ults to utilize and still catch up to you too. Chessie even having, I mean, another power rune. Look, another BKB, another DD rune for him. And he has a BKB now. He's ridiculously strong. And I mean, they're playing versus Aegis too. And these two supports, I'm worried for them. I'm worried for poor Rubik and Undying. I've been in this position a lot, playing versus Spectres. Manta Diffusal. You've no way to actually get yourself out of it here. They're tanky-ish because they've got like bracers, double bracers on both of them, but that's not going to save you versus those illusions.
4-man smoke. Spectre just playing in the jungle right now, has the ultimate up.
Full Greaves now as well in Zibes, so he's got the matching sustain versus that Magnus. Walking into the high ground.
Yeah, they just don't seem to care with the Spectre ultimate going off. He tries to jump into the back lines. A nice tornado interrupts a lot there. Pasha, though, unable to find a good grip in this situation. Doesn't hit a good RP, and they're going to try and take down this egg. Crystallized really going for it, but he doesn't quite get it. There was just one hit left. Half a second at best, and he would have killed that egg and maybe gotten out as a result. But Misery triumphantly squawking his way out of that sticky situation. He survives. They beat NaVi in a team fight, and it's looking like Fog. This is just going to keep on rolling from here.
Yeah, this is going from bad to worse. I mean, when it's a game with a hero like Spectre, when you're playing versus these easy frail heroes in the back lines, you see how easy it is for Ace to just choose what target he goes for. Easily gets onto Pasha, and they're actually continuing into tier 4s onto Ilias. Ooh, this one's getting out of hand.
Yeah, it certainly is. Like, when the highlight of a team fight is, will he kill a support? No, he doesn't. And so they get, you know, whomped on without getting a single kill in return. It's a pretty bad sign. 10,000 net worth lead. Successful Sunstrike. Well done.
Got him.
Got him good. That's mental damage going into game 2.
Tips him. He's like, all right, you got me. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing just the just because of that lead, having BKB on Chessie, Ace with an Aegis, they have no fear of running into a high ground like that. It puts Pasha into a weird position. He gets silenced, sure, he removes it, the Greaves can't get a good position for RP because they just have all the information in the team fight from Han. So just, yeah, continuing to get harder and harder.
Very structured and well-disciplined, though, from 5 men. They didn't even stick around to try and get the last hit on the tier 2. Somebody called back, and they all got out of there. Nobody was greedy. They just backed up to their side of the map. Gonna farm away. They're gonna make sure they don't throw this lead in a game 1. It certainly would be a throw because it feels like it's one of those games where Dota Plus is telling you it's a 95% chance. But we'll see. It's still a Slark. Still one of the better late game heroes. He's gonna open up onto Crystallize here. Now they do have the BKB, so he's easily going to be able to get out every single time, but at least it's a charge that was expanded, and they do get to keep Astral Step on the Rubik. So.
Okay, that's a really nice one, actually. Gives him that like, free Blink Dagger kind of way.
Yeah.
Man, Misery level, I'm just looking at these levels, and that's another big disparity that was coming out. Misery level 14, Pasha just hit 15. It's the 4 position versus the offlaner.
Yeah.
Pasha now has Blink, so they actually have a form of initiation because they didn't really have that before. It was Crystallize just running in to try to give info. But there's just so many, you know, like we said, there's so many different ways that 5 men can just start the fight.
Yeah. Mindbreaker, that's a pretty good one for Slark.
Yep.
It's all the little things at this point. Boy,
Radiant are
I know we talked a lot about why it went that way, but just continuing the thought process of Quaswex Invoker looks like it sucks.
It does not look like it's the yeah, especially not in this game. Especially because like I was looking and I'm like, how does he actually rotate? Like, how do you rotate the Spectre's lane as a Quaswex? You don't have the damage, especially with the laning partners they had too. They had Magnus, Rubik. You don't have damage to kill this Spectre in the early, so. Yeah, definitely did not work out for him in this game so far.
It wasn't the most amazing Exert Invoke, like with the Aghanims, and you've only got the RP for that.
Yeah.
But at least you've got an RP.
And you would have had earlier points of like Alacrity and stuff like that if you were to just have that right click to go press your towers in particular. That's what I've seen a lot of players do. Just taking objectives earlier on with that Invoker, especially if you get like the drum build.
Spectre pops the ultimate, immersion.
Supports
outside of the base, so immediately he's dead.
Can't get the dust quite onto Crystallize, so he's going to be the one that gets away. But yeah, I think that's going to be the story of the entire game for these poor supports. Every time a Haunt pops off, I think it'll be surprising if both don't die. So I think Undying has to be pretty happy. Mid lane.
Yeah, soon to have an Abyssal Blade too, so even if you do get that Force Staff or Glimmer Cape or Ghost Scepter, it may just be that the Spectre gets on top of you too quickly for you to actually activate that self-defense.
Yeah, looking at the net worth, you'd think the Spectre has the Magnus or something on his team, right? Look how much, he's just got 4,000, he's full item ahead of the Slark because of how this game has gone. Never a position you really want to be in a Slark. You want to be in that position. You want to have your net worth lead over the Spectre if you were a Slark, but yeah, not the case. And they claim the second outpost, 5 seconds until they get that. Nice little benefit, and NaVi is going to be sad because they get no XP.
Ace just plays wherever he wants at this point.
Yep.
He knows it's just going to cost them way too much for them to try and go on him because he's so tanky at this point in time.
Another rune? I actually want like a rune counter right now. What is it, like 15 or something, or 14 runes for Chessie and the boys?
Yeah, I feel like the only rune that didn't go to 5 men was like the double damage that I saw the Invoker deny.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. That's one of them. It's been a lot of DDs as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's like the 5th or 6th one.
Gonna catch the Magnets here. Does have the Guardian Greaves. He skewers back Chessie. And waddles his way back to the base. The supports, though. Well, Ilias, at least, won't be as lucky.
All right, it's go time.
Yeah, with a DD and a Siege Wagon on the way, it's a good opportunity to just kind of poke at this tier 3, see what happens.
Oh, and Misery just has to be flashy with, you know, the Meteor Hammer dive.
Yeah. He could have just held the dive there for the time being. Pasha does manage to get away from that initiation from Chessie. Chessie actually boosted forward right as Ace gets a bash onto the Rubik, so he gets double teamed and brought down. That egg, I guess, was just kind of outside of the edge there, but Ace is going in right now. Forstaff is going to be able to get him out of there. Chessie going back in, completely fearless. Oh, an RP that is only on the Pylai die. Questionable.
Ooh, oh, that's painful. Now they're not going to have it for the next sequence either, and that's, I mean, it could have been potential for them to chase out. Now, if they did have RP, right, there's no egg, there's no haunt, they could have maybe tried to go to make an aggressive move, but Pasha jumps the gun trying to go for that there, only getting the clock.
Yeah, right as they picked up the Aghanim Scepter too, so if they had an RP for this smoke right here, you'd feel a lot more confident about it.
Exactly, yeah. They're trying to camp this rune out. Pi.
Oh, will this be the one rune that something good happens? We'll see the Forstaff! Zibe gets him out of there, away from the telekinesis, brings him back down to Earth and away from that cataclysm. Crystallized will die as a result, with no buyback up for him. It's just going to be cleanup time. 5 men run down whatever heroes they can. It's going to be Pasha, who's to pick up, and probably another one, Immersion. Yeah, he's going to be a support that certainly dies. 3 dead, no buyback. That feels like the last hurrah there from NaVi.
Oh, man. They tried to chase out. They almost had Chessie. That Forstaff, though, way too damn good. Zibe, we were talking about that the item decisions that he went for.
Yeah.
Playing versus the limited disables, limited catch, only really worrying about Rubik. Like, Rubik lift, you Forstaff, you're free. You free whoever's getting gone on from that one, too. Magnus RP, we just saw the similar thing, too. Just easy ways to save, and yeah, just great overall play here by 5 men. And you can tell they prepared themselves. This looked like some nice planning, too, because they switched the lanes up. They itemized correctly versus the heroes that they're playing against, and yeah, they've executed super well this game.
Yeah, the qualifiers for this was not that easy. They had to go through some pretty notable teams in order to get where they're at now. And it's certainly showing up against NaVi. 5 men look very, very clean. Haven't seen like any mistakes coming out from them.
Are scanning.
They're going to have a level 18 Phoenix, so I guess you don't really need protection for the egg when you're got that high levels of Supernova.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Radiant are scanning.
Almost the same level as the carry. Okay, they're going to get that alacrity going, Chessie.
Chessie, man, he just knows when he is untouchable, and he goes in anytime he feels like an ace. Almost managed to get the chain bash there on Young G to finish him off, but nice pushback there from Pylai Die. They're going to try and chase down the mag while he leaves that Invoker up to the easy kills. Crystallized doesn't manage to get off his ultimate, and TP's away successfully. BKB protecting him from that Ether Remnant. Immersion, he'll die as well. So it looks like Pasha and Crystallized both barely got out, but still, it's just getting worse and worse and worse for NaVi. And maybe I spoke too soon. Zibe, he tried to chase down Pasha. He was actually almost out of mana there, but once again, Pylai Die there to protect him just in case. He actually completes his Scythe of Ice while the rest of his team still doing Roche.
And the Forstaff again, Reign Supreme gets him right out of there. These 2 heroes now do the Roche by themselves. Aegis Cheese. Yeah, don't see a way back in this one for NaVi at all. It's just so easy for them to just collapse on top of Young G in every fight. He just ults, haunts, abyssals, mantas, and the Invoker just has to play fully defensive from there. Can't even reset.
Have you seen the logo for 5 men?
What is it?
You can see it over there on the big old screen.
Oh.
Who do you think that is? I feel like it might be a compilation of various characteristics.
I can definitely see a little bit of Pi.
Yeah, those are Pi's glasses.
Yeah. And they have their flags too, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's cute. I like it. Unique.
Ward on the high ground. Sentry dropped as well. NaVi knowing that they can't just sit inside their base and wait for 5 men to come out to them. They've got to find some way to get a good RP to surprise. And
oh no!
Pasha, has he hit an RP?
Oh, and Crystallize is dead. They just call it. They
Kapash
just
just
don't.
wants out of this
Yeah.
game. He hates his life right now. He's over it. Let's move on to the next game, boys and girls.
Wrap it up. Oh, man. Yeah, that... You know what? Let's be real here. Even if he lands the RP,
Yeah.
very unlikely they can do much out of it.